The thing that I wanted to mention, and I'll send you some details when I respond to your last message, but it is that we are having actually a fairly important meeting tomorrow here. And so this is actually related to something I just wrote in the WhatsApp group for the Unity Women and Feminists Network, which is fairly new. That is related to the projects we would like to do, led by the women, of course. And so with people like Juliette, hopefully you're working closely with her. So the idea is that we are obviously looking at multiple different types of projects, programs, as you've seen probably during these IGU Summit events. There's a number of cultural aspects to this, and there's a number of environmental aspects and whatnot related to this. As I actually had just written to the members there. So we are what we're trying to do here in Canada essentially is resurrect in a way the original Canadian biochar initiative that I had tried to start more than a decade ago, back in 2008. That is part of what we're doing. So that is part of biochar being my specialty, because I'm a biochar consultant. What we are trying to do is restart this whole conversation and support the FAO and all of the USDA, the Canadian, the whole Canadian what we call carbon farming initiative. And so that is part of this whole idea of climate smart agriculture. So we in particular are promoting regenerative climate smart food production solutions specifically. Sort of we're looking at regenerative agriculture and food systems, and that's what we're promoting. Of course, climate smart agriculture is sort of a big tent for how do we adapt to climate change, how do we implement systems to basically continue producing food for the world, for ourselves, in a radically different climate, potentially within the next few decades. So this whole idea of climate smart agriculture came out of the FAO, actually came out of the Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture, which was started by the big agricultural corporations many years ago, and I was involved in that. I was involved through the Climate Smart Ag Youth Network, which is based out of Cameroon, which is where my connections to Africa first evolved. So the idea is we want to restart this industry association to restart a Canadian carbon farming initiative, to start demonstrating these climate smart solutions, some of which will not be regenerative. We would like to, of course, demonstrate the regenerative solutions, the ones we're showcasing, of course, through these summits and this network. And so what we want to do is, of course, is set up these learning centers to train, especially youth and women, around the regenerative solutions, the local regenerative solutions to achieving the climate smart agriculture programs around the world. So in Canada, we are trying to start this Canadian Carbon Farming Initiative through the creation of this industry association. And then from there, we can leverage the Global Unity network to create what we call an international carbon farming initiative, where a certified grower of climate smart, the regenerative climate smart foods and whatever they're growing, could be crops, could be food, feed, fodder, fiber, whatever they're growing, they are then certified and become eligible for these carbon payments, which are part of a bundled, what we call PAGI payments, which are the payments for global goals implementation. So as local community entrepreneurs implement global goals, SDGs, they can get payments for carbon credits, ecosystem services credits, all of these things through hopefully secure blockchain-based payment system, like direct to their phone kind of type things. Right? So there's going to be a whole ecosystem of development around this whole concept of payments for the global goals, which is part of what we're having discussions around through the finance network of the global Unity network. People like Mark and others. So there is an underlying push right now, of course, around the world to achieve net zero. This whole conversation is really like picked up over the last year or so, where a lot of corporations, a lot of governments, a lot of everybody is saying, look, we gotta achieve net zero typically by 2050. That's kind of the goal. So I think most people say it's going to be impossible to do it in the next 8 years by 2030, even though I've heard some say, oh yeah, but net zero by 2030 in 8 years seems pretty impossible. But probably over the next couple decades, 28 years, let's say, at 2050. So I think over the next couple decades, there's going to be a huge push to try to achieve this goal of net zero, which basically means, yes, we can continue burning fossil fuels, but those will somehow need to be offset by carbon sequestration, typically back into soils, back into the earth, basically through photosynthesis. You grow plants, convert those plants to some kind of carbon-based materials, whether it's construction materials for your buildings or whatever, or these fertilizers, carbon-based fertilizers, go into farms, go into soils, increase soil productivity. We want to measure that, monetize that, and pay the farmers to do this work, essentially. We've been talking about it for years here through various initiatives. But I think this is the moment in time where we can get this going, I think, because there is significant investments. And so I do believe that Africa and Africans can play an enormous role because of the enormous land resources available. In particular, degraded lands, which have the greatest benefit in terms of the ability to implement carbon sequestration projects that can help increase productivity of those lands and also biodiversity and other nature benefits by sort of thinking in terms of like the African Union's Great Green Wall of like the forestry thing, right? That they're doing. Right? That's part of sort of like we got to stop the expansion of the deserts and such things like that, and protect lands and protect our the water resources, especially. I think
Lloyd, we're at nine minutes after, so I'm going to begin recording.
Okay, excellent.
Oh, excuse me. Please check to see if I made co-host of you to assist Lloyd in admitting people. I won't be able to do that. So Ayodele, I believe, and Juliet, and anyone else, if you raise your hand, I'll make your co-hosts. But we're going to start recording now. And I'll put the link in the chat for the YouTube stream just a moment. The recording is in progress.
All right, thank you very much and good morning. I should probably open up my video this time as well. So welcome everybody. This is now the, 36th week of the Indigenous Global Unity Summit series that we have every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. As always, I like to start these events by acknowledging those that came before us on this land. And so I do say a land acknowledgement. So today we begin by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous people, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we are on here in the Greater Toronto Area, where I am, is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, and is now home to many diverse peoples. I'd also like to acknowledge the land we're on is at the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We'd like to thank them and other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So this morning, we had a guest speaker that was not able to make it to do their presentation again, but I will go through the standard startup and then we will have a discussion related mostly to one additional slide that I added this morning. Again, one of the things I do now is talk about events coming up. Actually, the main event this week is today, which is actually World Pulses Day. So Thursday, 10th of February 2022, World Pulses Day is, according to the UN, a great opportunity to heighten public awareness of the nutritional benefits of eating pulses, because they contribute to sustainable food systems and a zero hunger world. So again, this is according to the UN, which I will include a link in the chat. So I will now, hold on just a second to start my presentation and share my screen. So I just need to share screen. Here. So, somebody let me know when they can see this.
Yes, we see it now, Lloyd.
Awesome. Okay, so as always, I start the presentation by giving recognition to our supporters, in particular Andrew Networks, which has replaced EdFood Foundation as our primary sponsor for the Global Unity Network. These weekly Zoom calls now go through to December 29th, 2023. Andrew Networks will also be rebroadcasting our production-ready episodes of these events on the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board Goodwill Ambassador AHIABGA.org domain, redirected to UCIT-TV site. You'll also notice that our opening logo indicates that this is now 2021-2023. Acknowledging that we do plan to continue delivering this Thursday event until the end of 2023, in alignment, of course, with the UN Global Compact 21-23 vision and strategy, which again, I will put links into the chat. So you will see on this page some of our partners, Maui Aloha Project, Five Points Youth Foundation, Ad Hoc International Advisory Board, Goodwill Ambassadors, AHIABGA, Future Lift Foundation, Global Women's Development Network, Global Peace Let's Talk, Community Development Foundation, American International Education Federation, the EdFood Foundation, and a number of other ones as well. So again, I will put in a few of those links for people to be able to go to their individual websites. So again, Andrew Networks is our primary sponsor. They are supporting the promotional ecosystem for this Global Unity Network initiative, which will last to at least December 29th, 2023. It is Andrew Networks that donates our hosting and promotional support services. They are a brand, Andrew Networks, owned by RXTC Expert Trading Company, comprising the various social media channels, including PRN TV, Universal Citizens Media Network, Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr., and many more. So then in the chat, I put in some information. So Andrew is a founder of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Advocates, and Activists. That was created in September 2019. We do have a focus on globalizing the Sustainable Development Goals during this decade of action and delivery on the SDGs, which lasts from 2020 to 2030. Andrew later appointed me as the representative for Canada, La Francophonie, and the Commonwealth of Nations countries. Published that on January 1st, 2020. So my appointment is as a representative for Turtle Island. Was added in 2021, just last year. So link to the ambassadors is in the chat as well. So my name, again, Lloyd Helferty, Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and Sustainable Society Consultant for Energize University, which is headquartered in the US in Manhattan. I am located, though, in Canada, in the city of Markham, in the Greater Toronto area, Southern Ontario. Energize University is a private company that was created to help empower global populations to establish a sustainable balance to their local environments. Energize does this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong and diversified local economy while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into local communities in the areas around renewable energy, high-density food growth, managing waste streams, and protecting local water resources. So Energize, being supported by over 375 companies, has products and technologies that we can employ. Importantly, though, we do support education and training in the construction, deployment, maintenance of these various integrated solutions for achieving these closed-loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. Again, I put my information in the chat for everybody to connect with me directly. So I am also the co-founder and administrator of the Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization that is seeking to undertake what we call life value peace education in the context of life learning gardens. So this is the basis for many of our cooperative, our cooperative agreements. So as noted earlier, I am also designated as a Goodwill Ambassador for the 5 Points Youth Foundation in Los Angeles, with a portfolio that covers Canada, La Francophonie, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities. So as a member of the International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and Activists, we are seeking to empower our communities to engage with royal, Indigenous, and tribal leadership, as well as interfaith neighborhood, academic, and business collaboratives, INABC, which is seeking to leave no one behind. Again, in the chat, I will put in some information about the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors. So I'm also co-founder of the Global Unity Business Group, which came together as a coalition of small businesses in order to establish, manage, and grow this Global Unity network. So the business group is a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation supporting and promoting the local delivery of this open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure set up as life learning gardens, along with a hybrid virtual learning platform that we call the PCN, or the Interchange for Peace. Global Unity Business Group was created in order to formalize the process of globalization of the global goals, starting with the SDGs, which is being done by the establishment of this Global Unity Network, which so far includes a Unity Gardens network, Unity Learning Network, and a number of other dedicated Unity networks being important components of this network of networks, as we call it. So I wanted to note that the existing social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, and LinkedIn groups that we're using are simply being used as placeholders as we build global network and prepare to launch, where we'll eventually get all of the people, companies, and nodes of the network onto this VCN. We'll then be able to gain access to the many more tools and services that are available there, where they can much more easily collaborate in order to implement these globally coordinated projects. So again, in the group, the Global Unity Business Group, some of our social media. So the Global Unity Network was created to showcase global cooperation for the implementation of the local regenerative solutions to achieving the global goals, starting with the 17 sustainable goals, the SDGs. Our goal is to help uplift the traditionally marginalized communities that are mostly being left behind because the existing economic paradigm is really focused on making money for those who are already wealthy, extracting resources through the exploitation or usually over-exploitation of people in the natural world. The majority of people on Earth are mostly being ignored by our existing highly competitive economy. So our focus is on the billions of people who exist or subsist on the economic sidelines, where we intend to start our work by delivering solutions for peoples and communities in some of these least developed countries, communities, and local economies that are in particular most food secure. So then in the chat are links to the social media. So we are Global Unity Network and are promoting the delivery of practical solutions to achieving the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals during this SDG period until 2030. So we're focused on using tools that we call humanitarian entrepreneurship, focusing on the female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs, or FFHE, the hybrid virtual and hands-on education and training or learning programs and platforms, with a primary focus on delivery of the humanitarian entrepreneurship skills training in the practical setting, so practicum training, along with leveraging the open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions to remotely assist local INABC teams to establish these open source Unity Garden classrooms in all of their local communities around the world. So the Unity Garden classrooms, set up in conjunction with existing schools in the local communities, can be used for the local and remote or virtual delivery of these practicum learning programs for those FFHE. Learn how to grow, process, cook, market, sell, and trade these various types of regenerative climate smart food and related nutritional and medicinal and other types of locally produced regenerative products, both within their own local communities, as well as regionally, nationally, continentally, or even internationally, in order to produce income and therefore greater prosperity in their local communities for all the people on all the continents. Of course, that intention of leaving no one behind. So again, I will put in one group called the UnityNet Smart Cities Network, which is a quiet group right now, but we'll get that going at some point. So we also promote through the virtual social marketing all of the members of the network. So we use all of the various social networking and trade tools of social media, including the modern fourth industrial revolution tools, combined, of course, with the wisdom of the crowds, with this deep Indigenous knowledge of both our ancestors and the living Indigenous people of this earth, in order to try to leave or learn from each other about how to share the abundance of this planet in order to create productive, regenerative, climate-smart landscapes wherever we may live, in and around each and all of our local communities. So our intention is also to help restore nature and biodiversity, ensure abundance for all, and ultimately restore the human connection to Mother Earth as proper stewards of our one and only planet. So I'm putting in the chat information about the Unity Biodiversity Network, which for us is very important. What I wanted to mention, the Global Unity Network, virtual collaborative network hybrid learning model will be delivered through both the Unity Gardens, so for the hands-on experiential practicum learning, as well as through this digital VCN that bundles all of the various functions of individual websites into this single site. So a collaborative portal allows all of the digital virtual learning to be delivered alongside the place where the e-commerce can also take place. So in other words, it's all in one platform for trade, for commerce, for learning, bundled into a single site. So the VCN uses what's called the digital collaborator engine, intended to turbocharge the networking, exchange, trade, and education delivery capabilities of and for the members of the network. It's called a PXN, or Partner Exchange Ecosystem. The digital collaboration technology helps organizations in these 6 areas of digital transformation in terms of leadership and strategy and customer intimacy, business service design, agile transformation, and doing health check analysis of their organizations. So we believe that this BCN platform can help every organization become what's called an agile organization for the 21st century by helping them to move beyond this current health pandemic. So the BCN intended to be a stepping stone toward a new vision of the internet called the metaverse, which is quite well known now because of the naming or renaming of Facebook to the new corporate name Meta, which of course refers to this metaverse concept. So the business group is managing the Global Unity Network geographically by helping to create these localized country, regional, and continental Unity Network, UnityNet Global Business Development Networks, which serve to manage the local and community networks. So the regional and continental Unity Network organizations organize themselves according to the concepts of a principle we call sociocracy, to assist communities in each country to establish these local and regional community engagement teams called INAB collaboratives, or INABCs, the Interfaith Neighborhood Academic and Business Collaboratives. The primary purpose of both business and network is to promote the ad hoc International Advisory Board Goodwill Ambassador process of globalization of the global goals, specifically by promoting processes that can help local communities establish these partnerships as per SDG 17 that will support local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are dedicated to implementing these local regenerative climate smart based enterprise solutions for achieving global goals. So I'm putting a link about sociocracy into the chat. So I actually want to talk a little bit purpose of the Global Unity Network. Our main purpose for the network country chapters is essentially to use this ad hoc International Advisory Board process of globalization and global goals, this specific community engagement process, in order to assist local communities to establish and maintain these local and regional interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives, the INAB collaboratives, in each local community. So according to a multi-stakeholder called HEPTA Matrix partnership template, which you'll see here. For example, the partnership between Drawdown Markham, CSO, the 5 Points Youth Foundation NGO, done through this We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society organization, whose mandate, of course, is to deliver the life value peace education within the context of the Life Learning Gardens, which we now call Unity Gardens. So under the framework of cooperation that's created, rather than just looking at individual projects on a one-on-one basis, the Global Unity Network is created to establish this global support network that will help to establish these local support networks of professionals in each local community where projects are to be implemented. So where ultimately the design and assessments of the projects, the local projects, are not really to be done by people who are remote to the communities and projects, but by these trusted people who are living closest to the projects, including the beneficiaries, especially those who are currently in the most marginalized community or marginalized communities in their regions. So again, I put in information a little bit about the concept of localization. So our goals are actually to support and uplift people in marginalized communities through the delivery of this learning program, the practical hands-on education and training, and to promote all of the youth, female, and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs around the world who either have or wish to implement these replicable regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the sustainable development goals, of course. So we focus on these regenerative solutions, can be localized one community at a time, starting in the least developed countries, communities, and economies, LDCCEs, by working with the people who have been most forgotten and marginalized with the intention of leaving no one behind. And I will put in the chat some information about this concept of open source hardware. So our philosophy is that machines are not the economy. People doing things is what makes an economy. And so if we can lift people out of poverty, or better yet, empower themselves or empower them to lift themselves from poverty, we'll have automatically injected new life into the global economy. So the goal of the Global Unity Network is therefore uplifting the bottom billions. So the ultimate goal being teaching people how to feed themselves the climate smart way, where we think of the old saying, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and feed him for a lifetime. The Global Unity Network is about teaching the women especially and youth to fish so they no longer need to be fed the next day when they're hungry again. So we also focus on promoting and demonstrating only these open source solutions, as in the open source regenerative climate smart food growing infrastructure set up as the Unity Garden classrooms at and with schools, including universities, colleges, high schools. And I can send anybody, of course, a 4-page document that describes more about who and what the Global Unity Network is. I will put in links to our Gardens Network in particular into the chat, which is an important part of this. One of our key programs is actually called the Ctp Program, or Collaborative Tree Planting Program. That Ctp program created in order to help enable local management and adaptation to long-term social and economic and planetary impacts. It's also there to help create legacy forests for people, biodiversity in the planet, and to help secure energy and food resources, climate resilience, and poverty alleviation. So we aim to teach people about how they can implement the various rural and urban holistic sustainability infrastructure that we're promoting to help deliver this knowledge to people who are in these local communities throughout our network, with the learning programs of the network partners being delivered using the lens of what we call humanitarian entrepreneurship, education, and training programs, especially for youth, educators, and decision makers of all kinds. Through our programs, the local communities come together to create these INAB collaboratives through the commemorative tree plantings that are part of the 400 and 800 anniversary Tree of Peace and Reconciliation ceremonial initiatives, so many of which have already taken place in cities and communities around the world, actually since late 2019. So the original twin Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting, the first one took place here in Canada, in Pickering, and then later in Bermuda and in Toronto, and we're a precursor to these ongoing tree plantings that are part of the social enterprise arrangement with an organization called Forest Nation, where they have a program called You Plant, We Plant, and through We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island, we're working closely with an organization, Plant for the Planet, which intends to plant 1 trillion trees around the world over the next few decades. So again, into the chat, I put some information about Plant for the Planet. We're hoping that we can contribute a large chunk of the trillion trees that they would like to plant. So we are supporting the work. We work in partnership with the Unity programs of the Unity Network organizations that have been established. We are establishing more as we continue along this path and deliver these projects, campaigns, and events like the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremonies, the Sunlight Spectacle virtual edutainment shows and events, these Indigenous Global Unity Summit series events, which again will continue until at the end of next year, as well as the coordinated international public fund festivals. And I wanted to mention as well, working in support again of the Local Women's Development Network and their expansion. And I'd like to ask everybody, please register to participate in the International Women's Day Conference that will take place from March 4th to 8th, 2022. Although we do have an event coming up, and I will let everybody know about that event, which I believe is also quite important. I am putting into the chat right now a few more links and information with this last link being added now for the AHIABGA-TV event, which is taking place in about a month. less than a month, in a few weeks. And hoping everybody will register for that. So as noted, we are supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure set up as these life learning gardens, designed for the delivery of the hands-on and practical learning programs supporting the life value peace education. So we have CSV gardens, victory forests, climate smart kitchens, spark learning centers or climate smart education and training centers, and wheel of life farms and farm schools. So these are a suite of Unity Gardens that we are promoting at this time. So our projects include what we call a Sacred Site and Watershed Mapping Project, the Ctp Program, our collaborative tree planting initiative for twinning these communities, along with collaboration for the development of this system of payments for ecosystem services for certified climate smart products that help permanently sequester carbon and that are made by our humanitarian enterprises that are helping to implement local solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the SDGs. So other campaigns include, we call it dream boards in every community campaign, to establish local community dream boards. We help especially to mobilize the youth and turn their dreams into reality, along with a tea diplomacy initiative that connects local farmers, growers, and entrepreneurs across geographies and among members of communities that may not otherwise ever get a chance to talk to each other and get to know each other as people. The idea being to sit down, even if only virtually, have tea, relax, and discuss some of these solutions to global problems like food security, hunger, climate change, the environment, peace, security, and the well-being of people and environments in each of our local communities. So people participating, especially in tea diplomacy initiative, would also discuss what kinds of teas they like to drink, what type of healthy foods they like to eat while drinking the teas, and when unique teas they grow in their own local communities or region, and the importance of those teas to the local people and cultures. So I will put in some links, especially to the Ctp program, as well as the tea diplomacy initiative. So I wanted to talk about especially UnityNet Africa, our first continental Unity Network development network, called actually UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. It's intended to be a safe place for cooperative discussions with other members of the Global Unity Network as we develop this continental network for all the people of Africa and for eventual replication across many more countries worldwide, starting with the LDCs, the least developed countries, communities, and economies. So the initial board of directors of this continental African Unity Network listed in this slide has also been confirmed with an official advisory board with Carlos Richard Sanko from UnityNet Sierra Leone as the new president, and Mary Ifeanyi from Nigeria as the new continental vice president. So Sierra Leone, being one of the oldest global Unity Network chapters, already has 10 trees of peace and reconciliation planted in communities across the country, serving as this precursor for the creation of the local INAP collaboratives and the establishment of the Unity Garden classroom infrastructure. So the new board of directors of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora was put together in a way to try to represent 6 regions of Africa, and the selection process made an attempt to achieve gender balance of the board by ensuring that about half the board members and leaders were women, again, as per SDG 5 gender equality. The African team is now working in cooperation with other existing Global Unity Network chapters in Africa, and they want to create a model for the development of a continental and regional network of networks by promoting and working with grassroots people in the country chapters. The African model will eventually be replicated in order to create country chapters across all 55 African nations, likely also establishing a formal dialogue in connection with the African Union. The African success, not just for Africa, also for other continents and countries around the world, will focus our efforts, as always, on the least developed countries, communities, and economies in the communities that are being furthest left behind. So again, I will put in a link to the UnityNet Africa social media and discussion groups. We are also planning to link North American, Turtle Island, and African agendas across time and space by linking our programs together in a way that makes sense by developing what we're calling this reverse Ctp program now, modeled on the original Ctp program developed by Drawdown Marking in late 2019. The business group has its home in Canada, but we have strong support and involvement, especially from Sierra Leone, Kenya, and the US. I'd also like for everyone on this call to consider joining one or more of the following groups that are also critical to the Global Unity Network, including the Global Unity Network social media discussions created by the Unity Business Group, which is, as noted, a humanitarian enterprise, social or global sustainable and regenerative development corporation, supporting and promoting this local delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure set up as the Life Learning Gardens or Unity Gardens. I wanted to mention as well that there are a number of critical nodes in the network, including the Regenerative Living, Learning, and Lifestyle Network, the Unity Learning Network, the Health Network, the Eco Village Network, Indigenous Global Unity Network, the Unity Environment Network, Biodiversity Network, Peace Centers Network, a Children and Youth Network, a Smart Communities and Cities Network, the Social Business Network, Climate Smart Tourism Network, aligning, of course, with Tourism for SDGs, the Women and Feminists Network for humanitarian entrepreneur, business owners, and managers, to have these discussions among themselves, along with a number of critical networks and nodes. And most recently, again, the Water Network established, designed to address all of the water sustainability issues that are related to the achievement of the global goals as we attempt to transition to what we call a regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So along with the new water network, we've also established a globalized net zero team, supporting the creation of a campaign for globalization of global goals, where we focus on cities. We're attempting to achieve the net zero ambitions. We'll likely be focusing our attention on the C40 cities network through a proposed partnership between what's called GHH, sorry, and the UN Global Compact, along with the C40 cities network and the C4 for all the people in all the cities of the world who are members of the C40, but especially also for every marginalized person in every country, city, and local community and economy, inclusive of all Africans and all Indigenous people of the world. So this is a local project of UnityNet GPA, coordinated together with the founder of the Indigenous Unity flag, whose cousin is actually a famous hip hop artist here in Toronto. So I will put in information about some of these networks into the chat for people to join these networks if they so choose. With the last one being the links to the localized net zero team and the Indigenous Unity flag page. So the Global Unity Network is actually being created to promote everyone equally who is willing to work together with us in solidarity toward the achievement of the global goals, not just for the success of their own business, but within the Global Unity Network, the health and people of the planet. We're looking at people, humanitarians, who are placing those interests front and center. The first purpose being to help establish a global network of these AHIABGA collaboratives, as we call them. So the new name of the Interfaith Neighborhood Academic and Business Collaboratives is based on this heptamatrix partnership template shown in this slide. So we do have 7 sectors of partnership at the local level in each INAB collaborative we are trying to create. So the Global Unity Network does have a specific focus and this specific area of development, which is this hybrid virtual and hands-on practicum education and training in the context of and for regenerative development solutions for which we intend to assist people in the local communities to build and demonstrate at least one of the 5 different regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions in their own local communities, in collaboration with the existing local learning institutions. So it's intended that these Unity Garden solutions will be able to address at least 2 of the Sustainable Development Goals, the first being Zero Hunger, SDG 2, and the second being Climate Action, SDG 13. So again, I've put into the chat links to these 2 solutions that you see on the screen here. So we are building a global network that's across all areas of humanitarian entrepreneurship, however, especially as far as learning, as they relate to the implementation of the local solutions for achieving the global goals, the SDGs, that are related to our even more specific focus on climate smart food and related regenerative development solutions that will help humanity to move beyond the sustainable development goals and into a new era of regenerative development, however that might ultimately be defined post 2030. So we're starting the conversation now, about 8 years ahead of the inevitable transition to the next phase of the global goals, post 2030, where the SDGs are now just the second phase of this so-called Millennium Development Project to achieve peace on Earth in a way that leaves no one behind, where the larger Millennium Development Project intends that all of humanity can be uplifted and empowered to achieve their highest potential. On this slide, I will also share everybody the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the idea around regenerative development as well, which I think is a very important concept for people to understand. So this complicated graphic, you see the Unity Network, Africa and Diaspora, the very first continental chapter of the Global Unity Network. The continental chapters being created in order to facilitate the establishment of the country chapters of the Global Unity Network on the specific continent or geographical jurisdiction where the continental chapter has responsibility. So the country chapters are being created in order to facilitate the establishment of these local INAB collaboratives, the interfaith, neighborhood, academic, and business collaboratives at the local level in each community. So the INABCs, these INAB collaboratives, established at the local level, leveraging this unique process of community engagement through the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation planting ceremonies, followed by these community engagement and interaction through the regularly scheduled events throughout the year. So the coordinated fun festivals, which will be done in collaboration with the local INABC members, the Ctp program for twinning the communities, and the community organized tree plantings with the local regenerative community infrastructure development projects and events, the Tea Diplomacy Initiative, as I described earlier, the Dream Boards Initiative done in collaboration with C4 group members, identification of engagement as well with local talent, artists and creative people in the orange economy for the purpose of promoting and showcasing their talent, especially in promoting the localization of the global goals process and the regenerative economy during any one of these sunlight spectacle or other edutainment events, as we call them. So any other programs or activities that may be developed in the context of the CSV Gardens, the Victory Forests, the Climate Smart Kitchens, the Wheel of Life Farms, or the Spark Learning Centers, these Climate Smart Learning Centers will be of course, showcased through the INABCs. We want to show or send a link to UnityNet PTA in our chat group as well. So I wanted to note as well, the Unity Gardens of the Global Unity Network are encouraging what we call co-learning or intercultural collaboration. It's called two-eyed seeing. Unity Gardens placed where children are taught that no one is being, or no one being is greater than the next, that we are part and parcel of the whole, that we are equal, that each one of us has a responsibility to the balance of the system and an understanding that all of the world's species, including our bioecokin, have contributions to make. I wanted to as well share some information in the chat about what's called two-eyed seeing, or guiding principle for intercultural collaboration. So these are important concepts for the world as we move forward. On November 27th last year, we did establish two new discussion groups within the Global Unity Network. First, the Global Unity 4K Clubs Network, established with Susan Yego from Kenya and Mary Solanke from Nigeria. The members of this network will begin the process of organizing the development of these learning modules that can be customized and aligned to local school curriculum as required, and where the modules are to be delivered in the context of the Unity Gardens by the members and partners of the local INAP collaboratives that have been established in each local community, where the Unity Network continental, country, and regional chapters have been established. So again, a link to the Unity 4K clubs is in the chat. Another second organization is the connection we established with Tukitana EV organization in Germany late last year, where we started preliminary discussions about the establishment of Tukitana EV Canada as an NGO, a national NGO organization, which of course where they are already delivering this Tukitana Women's Empowerment Program in Africa. But in Canada, we'd like to establish the Tukitana EV Canada NGO in order to apply this AHIABGA process of localization of global goals in all of our local communities, so that we can establish the local CSOs, the INABCs, which are the local organizations that will deliver the Global Unity 4K Club learning programs to help uplift youth and FFAGs intergenerationally and across geographies, and help bridge the gap between urban and rural in order to achieve our objectives of delivering quality education as per SDG 4 through partnerships as per SDG 17. So that through the Tukitana EV Canada will assist our colleagues in Germany as well to establish a UnityNet continental chapter in Europe, which their focus will be on supporting homeless and displaced people, such as economic conflict or climate migrants. So Tukitana EV Germany, Zambia, and other links are in the chat. So I wanted to mention one of the reasons for establishing the UnityNet Children's and Youth Network is in order to support and establish a pool of experts for those who are organizing the Global Coordinated Climate Smart Youth Forum hybrid virtual and in-person event that we'd like to take place as a key part of the Global Unity Network yearly activities. This year, it has been offered to take place during the Lagos Peace Awards ceremonies hosted by Yali International in Nigeria, in partnership with UnityNet Nigeria, with the support of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, culminating on World Peace Day, October 16th, 2022. The Climate Smart Youth Forum Week actually happens during the 13 days between October 4th, Global Cooperation Day, and October 16th, World Food Day, with events, activities, programs, and contributions that can take place or come from any country during that period of time, which presentations and activities can be recorded and delivered remotely to all the people who are members of the network through this Interchange for Peace, ECN. So the primary host this year, UnityNet Nigeria, they did a pre-launch event last year on the same date. Dr. Amadou Monday Amadou, Yali International, the Youth Education and Leadership Initiative, is working with his teams in Nigeria in cooperation with other members of the Global Unity Network, and especially the Africa and Diaspora Network, to launch the first of what we hope will become a Global Unity Network annual event happening every year in at least one country of the world during these days between Global Cooperation Day and World Food Day, so October 4th to 16th. So I give the link to especially the Unity Children's and Youth Network. The Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Week is also proposing as well that local INAP collaboratives, if they're ready to do so, can if they have a local plan, participate in the global coordinated community tree planting campaign to establish what we call 3D polyculture food forests in local communities across Africa and around the world, where the communities can also begin establishing these victory forest unity gardens, which also serve as sacred spaces in the local communities in collaboration with at least one or more of the local learning institutions, where the unity gardens would be configured for the delivery of the Global Unity 4K Club humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs to especially all the local youth and FFAG in that specific local community. So the Unity Garden sacred spaces are established in the local communities through the twin planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation that are to take place on World Environment Day, June 5th, during the Abraham Project Tree of Peace and Reconciliation Showcase Project for Global Cooperation event that will be designed for establishing this global network of local INAP collaboratives. So these interfaith giving academic and business collaboratives in every local community that participates through the Ctp program, the Collaborative Tree Planting Program. So the intent of the entire campaign is to establish these Global Unity Network community gardens in every local community around the world in support of programs such as Canada's promise to plant 2 billion trees, as well as the Great Green Wall Initiative in Africa, the 100 million tree plantation that was launched in 2007 by the African Union, being described as this game-changing African land initiative that aims to restore Africa's degraded landscapes and transform millions of lives in one of these poorest regions, Sahel. Of course, our goal is much bigger. I mentioned not only is this a private sector initiative, doesn't rely on taxpayer money to do, we'll also aim to plant 15 billion trees in local communities across Africa, if it's possible, established as these Victory Forest Unity Gardens, with as many of these gardens established as we can over the next 8 years by 2030, with the yearly tree planting campaigns continuing into the next phase of the global goals post 2030, at least up until we're hoping the year 2063, in alignment with the African Union Agenda 2063. So the task of the UnityNet African Diaspora in this year, with the help of the rest of the members of the Global Unity Network, will be to flesh out the details of this plan, bring it to the Executive Council of the African Union, so that all of the countries and governments, and civil society organizations and businesses across Africa and around the world can begin to get behind it. So again, I put in some information about the African Union's Agenda 2063, along with some links to our tree planting project for Nigeria that was started quite a while ago, along with information about the Interchange for Peace gathering place, where we are beginning to assemble experts and people who are passionate. We all need to open ourselves up to learning from each other in order to get the best of all wisdoms, so that we can come together in a healthy middle ground in place that will hopefully have all of us emerge into a world that benefits the maximum number of people and the maximum number of species and environments where we all live, and where we must learn to live in harmony, not just with ourselves, but also with all of nature as well. So what the Indigenous people of Turtle Island actually called all our relations. So with all of the living things on this planet from which our bodies are constructed. So we have DNA in our cells. These are the instructions of life. All of the members of the Ad hoc International Advisory Board are not therefore attempting to rewrite this playbook of how to engage with all people around the world by helping to uplift all humanity and move us beyond this era of colonialism. So it is a big project. I call it a project of a lifetime. It's a huge challenge for an entire generation of young people around the world, especially to try to achieve by working together, especially with our elders, in solidarity with all others, including especially with Indigenous people. In the context, of course, of climate change, biodiversity loss, so fertility losses, certification, issues like peak oil, population pressures, land use pressures, deforestation, peak phosphorus is really a serious issue on the horizon. Health crises such as COVID-19, misinformation, which is rampant right now, corruption, far too widespread, waste management and pollution issues all over the place, causing widespread contamination of our ecosystems, including from CO2 emissions, of course, along with plastics and other toxic things that are being put into our environment, including those that are deliberately applied to our living environments, like those chemicals that are used in industrial farming, like glyphosate and these antibiotics. Antibiotics, meaning literally anti-life chemicals designed to kill life forms, mostly microbiome. Actually, the things that keep us alive, because they're the things in our guts that allow us to digest food. So this is why Global Unity Network is actually seeking to help uplift the marginalized people, such that we can work together to teach the next generation of young people how they can feed the world through systems that keep us healthy by developing and leveraging activities that undertake through these local businesses that help to restore the environment, including tackling and adapting to climate change, where it's all done through the lens of what we call humanitarian entrepreneurship. Again, I put in the link to the Regenerative Living, Learning, and Lifestyle Network. So the Global Unity Network, as this slide indicates, is inclusive of everyone's networks insofar as we agree to uplift and promote each other and each other's good work. We do three main things. We help people in local communities create these INAP collaboratives through this International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals. We help facilitate localized delivery of regenerative economies learning solutions that others have developed, which is done through this Unity Learning Network for the members of the INAB collaboratives worldwide. We also promote everyone who's willing to work together with us in solidarity toward the practical and necessary achievement of global goals. So the Global Unity Network is what we call a network of networks, inclusive of everyone's network, but only if they agree to uplift and promote each other and each other's good work, and not to only place themselves at the center of their own activities. So the collaborative events that we do, or what we like to do in 2022, are related to the activities of the Global Unity 4K Clubs Network, the Unity Gardens Network, and the Unity Eco Village Network, along with the Unity Biodiversity Network. So we have the first globally coordinated Abraham Project, Tree of Peace and Reconciliation Showcase for global cooperation delivered locally in multiple local communities by the members of the Global Unity Network on World Environment Day, June 5th. So in about 5 months, we also allow us to begin establishing the global network of local ABCs, those interfaith academic and business collaboratives. Those lead the way at the local level everywhere in the world to undertake the globally coordinated events that we plan to do during the rest of the year. So I will put in the UnityNet African Diaspora Open Forum Discussion Group in particular, along with Sierra Leone Discussion Group and Uganda Discussion Group as examples of some of our local chapters. So the second important event is followed by a globally coordinated community bubble fun festival that we're hoping to have. So this is designed to allow youth and families to have fun while they learn about the properties of bubbles and how bubbles can actually allow humanity to more easily adapt and even potentially to thrive in a warming and changing global climate, especially in the area of the world where the impacts of global warming and climate change, will be felt the most severely. So here in Canada, especially in the north, in mountainous regions, as well as in places like sub-Saharan Africa, Southeast Asia. Some possible dates for this globally coordinated Fun Festival between August 9th, which is the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, also the International Day of Solidarity with the Struggle of Women in South Africa and Namibia, or National Women's Day. August August 12th, which is International Youth Day, and August 19th, which is World Humanitarian Day. So we have this potential for opening it up, have these local fun festivals on any date between August 9th and August 19th, which is an 11-day window. Again, put in some links in the chat to these relevant topics. So other key events that take place include Global Cooperation Day, October 4th, through World Food Day, October 16th. The Ubuntu Summit on October 4th. We did it last year. This is also Feast Day of St. Francis of Assisi and Blessing of the Animals Day for Christians, Catholics, which are celebrated by the Catholic faith. We want to bring faith communities together into these collaboratives as well. So the next event is a globally coordinated Climate Smart Youth Forum that I mentioned. Will be designed to allow youth and families from around the world to learn about and discuss the various regenerative climate smart agriculture and food growing solutions that support achieving, in particular, SDG 0 hunger and the local circular regenerative economies, along with learning more about the Climate Smart Food Program and all the various components of the ad hoc International Advisory Board process of globalization of the global goals and the smart virtual infrastructure, the Unity Gardens and the Interchange for Peace that will allow local community INABCs to gain access to all of the learning programs, the information, the education, the training, the support programs, including the financial support systems that we are promoting through the Global Unity Network. So that will allow our local community members and families to implement these local regenerative climate smart humanitarian infrastructure and enterprise solutions in the context of their own neighborhoods and communities, wherever they may live. So we're the primary host of the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Week 2022 event. Again, Yali International Nigeria will be working in partnership with UnityNet Nigeria, UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, as well as the rest of the members of the Global Unity Network, which would like to contribute to this. Yali International divided into two arms: Youth Education and Leadership Initiative. Yali International managed by, again, Dr. Amadou Monday Amadou from UnityNet Nigeria. Again, I will put in links into the chat regarding some of these important networks in our network. So finally, the last event of the year would be a globally coordinated community tree planting event that will be designed to establish these food forests in the local communities around the world, done in all of our local communities, wherever there's a Global Unity Network INAB collaborative established, where the members of the local community partnership wish to establish, especially Victory Forest Unity Gardens designed for delivering the Global Unity learning programs, such as the Wikitani EV Women Empowerment Programs or the Global Unity Forklift Club Humanitarian Entrepreneurship Learning Program for educating especially the women, youth, and other community members about various ways of achieving food and nutrition security goals, or SDG 0 hunger, at the local level, while also implementing many of their global goals, such as climate action, biodiversity action, gender equality action, clean water action, clean energy action, peace actions, no poverty actions, through the local community enterprises that aim to leave no one behind. So where this last global coordinated community Victory Forest Unity Garden tree planting event can potentially be done during the proposed Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, which will likely also include a hybrid in-person and virtual conference event. So again, into the chat, I'm putting more information about some of these networks. I wanted to remind everyone again that we do have been offered to organize a side event during the 2022 Together Ensemble National Conference on the SDGs in Canada on March 4th, 2022. So in less than a month, in a few weeks, we did have an invitation from a gentleman by the name of John Peel from the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Canada, which is at the University of Waterloo here in Ontario. So I have suggested that the side event can be done as a joint effort, contributions from UnityNet Canada, with the participation and leadership of Tukitani Canada NGO, and the others, along with UnityNet African Diaspora, supported by Tukitani Africa, in especially Zambia, Uganda, Kenya, and others, UnityNet Europe, Tukitani Germany, possibly also UnityNet South African Diaspora, via the CDF Canada partnership or the Global Women's Development Network. And finally, UnityNet Southeast Asia and Diaspora, which we are hoping to be able to create by that time as a new continental chapter modeled on the African success story for establishing a continental unity network. So again, I will put in information about this important event coming up in a few weeks at time. So this is a new slide for today. Additional suggestions that have been made to various members of the Global Unity Network include for this SDSN Canada event, we would like to rebroadcast the CDF or the Global Women's Development Network AHIABGA-TV conference event to the delegates and participants of SDSN Canada's 2022 Together Ensemble National Conference on the SDGs in Canada. We'd also like to undertake and do our very first Tea Diplomacy Initiative event, virtual discussions between the SDSN Canada event participants, including leaders of high-level decision makers who attend the event, along with some of our ad hoc International Advisory Board equal ambassadors and Global Unity Network members at the grassroots level who are living in and doing work in the various marginalized communities around the world, along with hopefully having an announcement about the launch of the Global Unity Bubble Soccer League and some related fun competitions with kids of all ages, so we can engage in bubble fun events in all of the local communities in our Global Unity Network, really to engage these local families in our conversations. We would like to have participation from leaders of these networks, the UnityNet Children and Youth Network, the Tea Diplomacy Initiative, the UnityNet Culture and Diversity Network, the Unity Women's and Feminist Network, and any others who may wish to join. The ultimate goal really is the eventual establishment of a global fun games, starting with the first fun and accessible fun soccer event for children and families to be organized for and with these underprivileged and marginalized communities, especially with young people of all ages, basically the young at heart. The Global Fun Games would be organized by a Global Games Committee and would be designed to encourage positive and present fatherhood, along with teaching people about the miracle of bubbles and helping to achieve greater food and water security as a result, but also having fun and ensuring that we leave no family behind, no child behind. So anyone who is interested may contact me directly. I can send an invitation to join in the discussion as it relates to the participation in this Global Unity Network SDSN 22 side event, especially in the Tea Diplomacy Initiative and the discussions, or even just as an observer. I do encourage everyone to join, especially the SDSN Canada 22 Together Ensemble discussion group, which will put the link in the chat right now. So I wanted to mention one more time, Ctp Program, indicated earlier during the past IGU Summit events. So the overarching plan for global cooperation that we are implementing here by working together with all the marginalized people of the world is that we'll be co-creating these programs through the Global Unity Network attempting to implement with our leaders and with our Global Unity network members, in cooperation with the local members, especially those who are most impacted by the solutions being offered as possibilities for the development of local humanitarian enterprises related to our original CTP program. I wanted to mention the original collaborative tree planting program is really a twinning of communities program created with the goal of doubling Canada's commitment to planting forests. That was the original goal. As a private sector initiative, with trees being planted on private property in local communities across Canada and in other countries, primarily the LDCs. That collaborative tree planting program originally developed by drawdown work for a group in Prince Edward County in East Central Ontario, actually as a regenerative climate smart community infrastructure development program that has a tree planting component. But the tree planting and the community forests, the result from the planting, were not actually central to the program outcomes. Those were related to the establishment and delivery of this local regenerative community infrastructure that we use to deliver solutions for achieving global goals, so the SDGs at the local community level. Importantly, though, the CTP program is about the delivery of this regenerative climate smart community humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs, the education, the training, and the delivery systems that are accessible at the local level in each and every community that takes part in the CTP program, which can be done either as twinning or what we call trinning or quadrinning or pinning even of the local community INABCs. So again, the original CTP program, this was presented actually to my member of parliament here in Richmond Hill, who was the first federal candidate of Iranian heritage to be elected to Canada's parliament, who signed what's called the Pact for Canadian Green New Deal, where we subsequently met and discussed the proposed project in early 2020, actually 1 month before the COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns. And those changed everything. Put this whole program on hold. We're hoping now to restart this with our conversations around this program during these first weeks of 2022. Some people in the Global Unity Network, specifically in UnityNet African diaspora, in local communities, especially in South Africa, and hope to demonstrate these community-to-community partnerships. The CTP program, I will put in a little bit of information there on this program. But we are now moving forward, and I wanted to mention that the originally created collaborative tree planting program, we are now reimagining this as what we call the reverse CTP program to support the establishment of the global network of productive eco-villages populated by our humanitarian entrepreneurs, with the reverse CTP program having this theme of from Africa to the world, where the first major initiative will be related to the planting of the trees of peace and the productive 3D polyculture food forests established in and around local communities across Africa in partnership with other communities around the world. So our hope is that this new reverse CTP program can become Africa's contribution to the global pledge to end deforestation by 2030, which was actually the first headline agreement from COP26, where the EU also proposed a law that would prevent importing commodities linked to deforestation activities, which means that there will likely be a significant push around the world, not only to end deforestation, but to replant forests where they had previously been destroyed or degraded. So we're also looking beyond the Sustainable Development Goals, again, post-2030 period, when likely that humanity will be needing to put huge effort into restoring our relationship and our balance with nature, probably undertaking rather massive ecosystem restoration activities at the same time. If we're going to survive both climate change and this ecosystem degradation and biodiversity loss is ongoing. So our goal is actually to establish the physical and virtual infrastructure that allows people in every local community on Earth to learn how to implement some of the local solutions themselves, which is the rationale for this hybrid approach, why we're promoting open source hardware solutions that are not only constrained by patents and other IP limitations, but can be done by local people. So I wanted to reiterate that the Global Unity Network does focus on smaller scale, community-based regenerative solutions that can be implemented by especially the local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs in all our local communities, including in both rural communities as well as in cities or their urban areas where the programs of the Global Unity Network are to be focused, and our community engagement done through the delivery of the events, focus on the development of these local partnerships to establish the local INAPCs for the purpose of bridging not just the top regenerative practitioners to the virtual platform, will be able to teach people about establishing these regenerative infrastructure as local community social purpose enterprises. But we can also help to empower the smallholders and the marginalized citizens who are members of the network of networks to establish their own humanitarian enterprises in the local communities, and also provide them with this access to the Interchange for Peace, VCN, this virtual collaborative network. So we are supporting, assisting, and promoting and empowering our humanitarian entrepreneurs in all the local communities who work together with their local community members, with members of the Global Unity Network, to start planning as best they can for the establishment of these hands-on regenerative classrooms, so these productive regenerative unity garden enterprises that will allow for the delivery of the learning programs and the practical education and training of the open source solutions, and all of the local community members can participate, and in partnership with all the other local community organizations, including existing educational institutions, so they can eventually take advantage of this Interchange for Peace virtual digital network, which serves to support the enterprises as well as the delivery of more humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs for the youth and the educators and the decision makers in the local community, so that everyone in the local community not only knows about, but will support the people who are operating these regenerative development solutions for achieving, again, at minimum, zero hunger, SDG 2, and climate action, SDG 13, at the local level, especially for those who are most marginalized in each of our own local communities. So I mentioned as well, UnityNet GTA, local team here in Toronto, establishing the Greater Toronto Area Unity Network through a partnership that's being developed through We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island, international civil society organization, working with our allies in the Global Unity Network, including UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, the rest of the UnityNet Canada local INAPCs, in order to establish and expand the Indigenous Global Unity Network, especially that will deliver programs for practical reconciliation with Indigenous communities and their allies across Turtle Island and around the world for the purpose of healing our planet, restoring biodiversity, and ensuring global social integrity, one community at a time. So we do this by looking through the lens of and implementing these solutions for achieving the global goals locally, starting with the local implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals during especially this UN decade on ecosystem restoration, which is coincident right now, 2021 to 2030. So we're also planning to start with the development of a Greater Toronto Area and Canadian Urban Food and Farming Expo Network, focusing on the development of a local regenerative food and climate smart food supply chain ecosystem here in the GTA, establishing a virtual urban farming network for the various global smart and fair trade products that will be certified as what we call regenerative climate smart, and which will at minimum help to tackle SDG 2, SDG 13, one meal at a time. So where our intention is also to leave no one behind, where we can also teach others how to implement these new regenerative economy solutions, not only to others here in Canada, but also to people around the world through the lens of SDG 17, partnerships with goals. So again, summarizing today, the humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs we are supporting focused on engaging youth, educators, and decision makers in the learning programs and community engagement processes with a strong emphasis on women and girls as leaders in their communities, also in their own homes and families, as per SDG 5, gender equality, with the goal of the business and the network to eventually establish what we call a new 21st century economy of compassion and cooperation, and the recognition of life value as being fundamentally more important than money value, where money is this fictional construct created by humans that helps us to make decisions about the most economic pathway to achieving certain outcomes which are based on the goals that we individually and collectively set for ourselves as human beings. So the Global Unity Network that we're establishing is what we call a network of network that includes platforms for delivering the education, training, awareness raising, and being an open idea and cultural exchange platform where we have programs that are managed by the Global Unity Business Group. We're a hybrid learning network, creating a virtual collaborative network, Interchange for Peace, network through social media right now, will be implemented alongside a network of internet-enabled international Unity Gardens, which are supported by the Unity Learning Network of educators who understand the importance of delivering programs of life value peace education in each of their own local communities. So again, I put it into the chat, especially the links to the Learning Network. And again, at the end of our presentation introduction, I have this 8-point sustainability guidelines that I show. I leave this on the screen for some time for people to read these. Guidelines were provided to us by Mick Nickerson from the 7th Generation Initiative Sustainability Project, who is the author of a book called Life, Money, and Illusion, Living on Earth as If We Want to Stay. So this, again, is some of the basis. I've known Mike for many years, and his thoughts and thought processes, I guess, permeate my own thinking as well. So this is the end of our introduction. Again, I'd like to recognize our guests, especially starting with the women. I'd also like to ask everyone again to please put their contact information into the chat, especially if you are new to the network, to the IGU Summit events, Global Unity Network, and I'd like to know, especially your name, your organization, and your contact information. So once again, this completes the introduction to Global Unity Network. I wanted to open it up today. In particular, what I'm going to do.
Oh, Lloyd, excuse me just a moment. I'm going to stop recording now since you completed your presentation, and then I'll begin recording again. Hold on just a moment.
Welcome back, Andrew.
Okay, we're recording again. Go right ahead, Lloyd.
So what I wanted to do was just go back a few slides here, in particular to this. So this is a little bit of an open discussion since we don't have a guest speaker today. In terms of this Friday, March 4th, SDSN Canada 2022 Together Ensemble, this event that is coming up. So it is the 10th of February, 4th of March, it's about 3 weeks or so from now. I have proposed 3 very simple things to do during this, what we call side event, where I proposed to Mariam Khan from the CDF Foundation in Pakistan, who is a member of the Global Women Development Network and I guess founder, that if we may be able to rebroadcast their event. So their event takes place from February 4th to 8th. This event from SDSN Canada is only on March 4th. And I'm hoping that our side event can include a rebroadcasting of their event during the SDSN Canada event, so we can have participants in the sustainable Development Solutions Network Canada also watch or have the opportunity to watch the AHIABGA-22 conference event, at least on the one day, and to know what this the Global Women's Development Network is doing around the world, including their own food diplomacy initiative. So the next thing I did propose, of course, the Tea Diplomacy Initiative. I've talked with the leader of Global Peace Let's Talk about this and invited them as well to see if it's possible, if they may be able to organize our very first Tea Diplomacy Initiative virtual discussions, again, as part of the side events that we do during this March 4th SDSN Canada event. I'm hoping that will come together and we can get a number of guest speakers, but not really. It's not really about experts and guest speakers. What I'd like to do is actually connect the delegates of the SDSN Canada event, this Together Ensemble event, especially the decision makers, the higher level decision makers, really have conversations with grassroots people in our network, the people that are on the ground doing those things, so that those decision makers can really understand directly from the mouths of those who are actually on the ground doing the work in these marginalized communities. And this is really part of what the Tea Diplomacy Initiative is about, is to connect those high level decision makers really with the people with the most connection to the grassroots, people that need those solutions to be structured properly. The final thing is a discussion about the whole soccer league. Hoping to move that forward. We're just looking at the potential to do an announcement about the launch.
Excuse me, Lloyd. Lloyd, I apologize. Can we go back just one step before you move forward to the soccer league, please?
Well, I'm just mentioning the three things, and now we can sort of open it up. So, if you'd like to mention something else,
I'll wait until you complete.
No, that's good. So if you'd like to mention something else, go ahead.
Well, just the the SDSN collaboration. I look forward to finding ways we can actually connect the dots with the United Nations Global Compact in Canada and the USA. It was the SDSN network that came up with a report last year that here in the United States, for example, none of the 50 states are achieving even half of the Sustainable Development Goals, and the ones left furthest behind are the indigenous peoples. So this could be our opportunity to connect the dots with this United Nations Global Compact 2021 through 2023 agenda, so that we can then connect the dots with Africa. But I'll address that with you separately. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Let's make the connections as we can. I think this is a fantastic opportunity for us to be able to connect with an organization that's actually been around for about 10 years already. Sustainable Development Solutions Network has been very well established. They are focused around, again, partnerships with schools, with educational institutions. I'm forgetting what the gentleman in the US that started SDSN, forget the name right now, but this has been around for a long time, 10 years. They are the biggest sustainable development solutions network in the world. I mean, we're in a way, I almost feel somehow replicating or duplicating what they already have, although they are, of course, not focused specifically on the solutions that we're looking to try to implement, these what we call regenerative and open source local solutions. But I believe that there's a good opportunity for us to build a partnership with them, or to become part of their network, supported by their network and the members. So I'm hoping that this will be really a good launching point for us to especially get into conversations with them, as well as what Andrew mentioned, the UN Global Compact, as well as the UN itself, as well as the African Union, as well as the European Union, as well as different governments and these multilateral organizations, including the Commonwealth of Nations, the Francophonie, and at some point where the idea would be that can the Global Unity Network create an equivalent Indigenous Unity Network that will be sort of the equivalent anti-colonial global network of local communities.
Well, Lloyd, I apologize for interrupting you, but what you're saying is so important because there is, in fact, what's called United Nations launched the, excuse me, the Indigenous, the Permanent Forum for Indigenous Peoples. And just last year, in August the 2nd, they launched the the Permanent Forum for Africa. So technically, our Indigenous Unity Network, if we take advantage of it, can identify those existing networks that we can collaborate with, and then do the same thing for our AfricaNet and diaspora networks. But again, that takes more in-depth conversation, but I'd like to bring that to your attention as well.
Mm-hmm. No, it's very, very important that we establish relationships, and so this is, for instance, with the delivery, for example, of the CSV gardens and the tree forests solutions. These Unity Garden solutions partnership that we're creating with Foundation for Building Sustainable Communities. We don't have a partnership with some of their delivery partners. So they have a network of delivery partners themselves. So their network, and in our partnership with them, becomes our network. So we can leverage this network of networks. So they have an agreement or partnership agreement, for instance, with Rotary International. So now every Rotary club in every local community can help to deliver these local solutions, because our partnership is with Foundation for Building Sustainable Communities, which has a partnership with Rotary International. So that's where we can now leverage an existing network. And so the same thing, if the UN has this Permanent Forum for Indigenous Peoples, they're developing a network of Indigenous peoples around the world in local communities. We can not only connect with that network, we can perhaps even help them to expand their own network by having members of our network working with their network as well, and growing these networks around the world that can help to localize these sustainable development goals, leading hopefully to this next stage of the regenerative development goals post 2030. So I guess the ask would be if Andrew may be willing to work, especially with people like Mariam and Global Women's Development Network, if we can come to an agreement around the rebroadcasting of the Women's Conference event.
I'm glad you brought that up, Lloyd, because in fact, our ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, AHIABGA, as you mentioned it, we've evolved and we've grown, and you may now see a reference to AHIABGA-TV. So Mariam Khan is, like you, one of our Goodwill Ambassadors, as is Dr. Tamara Omar, as is Princess Seppi. However, we also have in Canada, Shola Akbula, and he has established the Saga Foundation online registration process. So I believe we can, in fact, begin to plan for rebroadcasting of the events, yes, but I want you to think about everyone on this line being able to produce their own presentations, much like yours, Lloyd, so that we can rebroadcast the content from our grassroots collaborators and put them on a global level. So yes, is the answer.
Mhm. Well, I'm good. I still have asked the members of the Global Women's Development Network. They're ultimately the ones to approve the rebroadcast. I just need the partnership with Andrew Networks, of course, to have that rebroadcast happen.
Well, I'll send you along the release form. We do have a release form that will be necessary so that we can properly identify all participants. So I'll work on that today to get that over to you. I'm having computer challenges, so it might be tomorrow, but I'll get that to you as soon as I can.
Yep. Oh, so okay, we have started that conversation anyway. It's through the women's group, Women's Feminist group. So the next thing, of course, is I'm just looking at who's on the line today. Here we don't have a lot of people on the line today during this discussion, but with Heidi from Global Peace Let's Talk. I'm going to be following up today as well to have a conversation with her. Hopefully she'll be able to have this diplomacy initiative launched. She has said she will be doing this. She had committed to managing the diplomacy initiative efforts. So if we can have that, what I will need to do soon, hopefully, is respond to this gentleman in an email to approve that, yes, we're going to do this, this, and this. The last and probably the most challenging thing, though, will be this announcement about the Bubble Fund Soccer League. I guess it could be called Bubble Fund Soccer League, Bubble Soccer League. I may change the slide name. We haven't come up with any official name. We have come up with a sort of a strategy right now regarding this. One thing what we want to do is to see if we can approach the UN Global Compact here in Canada and their members, but to do that, we want to approach some soccer players here in Canada, medal winners, who ladies actually won the Olympics recently. So Canadian soccer champions won the gold medal at the last summer games, but they, as professional soccer players, have no opportunity to play soccer professionally in Canada. So they've been making headlines recently about the fact that there is no Canadian professional soccer league. So we'd like to actually see if we can partner with them, have a talk with them, if we can connect to them. I mean, it's we don't know if we can even connect with them in the next couple of weeks, but to see if they can promote us and we can promote them, and we can both sit down and have conversations with the UN Global Compact Canada members to see if we can get sponsorship, both to create a Canadian women's soccer league, professional soccer league, which doesn't exist, which these ladies have been calling for, as well as to get support for the Bubble Fund Soccer League.
Well, I have to caution you that the United Nations Global Compact is not a funding agency, but I can say that all of their members are publicly published, so you can reach them individually.
Well, it's just I think if we could, we know it's not a finance. There's no finances in UN Global Compact. The idea is that if we can have a conversation with UN Global Compact Canada leadership, they can get our message to all their members much more easily than if we were to go individually to each one.
Well, again, I caution you that that's not going to happen. That's not the way it works. The organization communications is about their activities. But again, you can reach the individual members. They're publicly noticed, so you can reach them individually.
Yeah, it's just it would be a matter of deciding which first. It's a lot longer process to try to contact members individually.
Well, just as a suggestion for the Africa strategy, the United Nations Global Compact intends to engage the top 100 largest businesses in each of those countries. to join the Global Compact, and small and medium enterprise businesses as well. I suggest in Canada, my strategy in the United States is to follow that same approach and begin with the largest of the companies that seem to have the biggest investment in accomplishing these objectives and holding them to account to what they claim they want to say. That means, Lloyd, we have to do a little due diligence and go to the United Nations Global Compact website, click on the link for the businesses. Each one has a communication on participation that shows what they're committed to. So our task is to find out what they're already committed to and then align what they're trying to accomplish with what we're already doing. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah, and I actually have started a database already of UN Global Compact Canada members. It's just it's a big task, and it takes a lot of hours to go through and sort of fill out that database to understand it. First of all, like what are the 100 largest companies in Canada, and which ones are members already, and which ones and what are they doing? There's a lot of footwork and research to be done.
I can provide some support services. Joseph Akinola has come on board to provide support services. So I would recommend that and also, of course, as you know, Mariam Khan and her team has over 100 interns. And so this is relatively administrative, clerical work. It's not really labor, it is labor intensive, but it's not skilled intensive. So I'll assist in that, putting that together, Lloyd. We need to have it. So I'll work with you to get that done.
Okay, excellent. Because I did just sort of start with a template for myself to find out what kind of information we might need. I put together a spreadsheet with columns with information that we're hopefully going to need. There's likely going to be more columns needed depending on what we want to know about each of these companies, these corporations and members. Because it's not just corporations, it's also industry associations and other organizations that are members as well. But for today, we'll see if we can try to end in the next 12 minutes or so. I'm just liking to maybe open it up at the end here. We have at least 4 or 5 other members here that may want to introduce themselves. For instance, Juliet. I'm hoping that we'll speak a few words about what she's been doing recently.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Let me turn it around. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Anyway, let me continue. It's been quite a busy couple of weeks where we've been looking at some projects. Before I talk about what we've been working on, I just wanted to tap on what Andrew was saying about the indigenous community, because in South Africa we have everybody knows of the Bushmen or Bush people, but there's also an existing community called the Kru and the Kwe. The Kru, but I do this. The Kru and the Kwe people of South Africa, they are based in the Northern Cape. They have, to a certain extent, lost their language, but they do have, they've lost it to Africans, but there is an opportunity to also build and develop their language. I was involved in the launching of the radio station a couple of years ago. So it's actually quite exciting. And in terms of indigenous knowledge, there's what you call indigenous games. The government tried to bring that to play indigenous games. And there is an opportunity also to bring in that indigenous knowledge. And we can, Lloyd and Andrew, we can link it to the cultural network, where broadly within, particularly in countries like Africa, in South Africa, that are developing quite fast, where the indigenous knowledge and things are being lost. So when we're talking about what Andrew was talking about now, I just thought it would be an excellent link, and also to do something in the Northern Cape for that particular community. But other than that, we looking for, I mean, yeah, I hear someone. Okay, yes, but other than that, in terms of the bubble soccer fund, in terms of its educational element, because we, you know, everybody knows that the Banyana, the female soccer team in South Africa is quite strong. It's one of the best on the continent, but very little gets done in developing it and also developing a league. So we also looking at working with the bubble fund concept to start getting girls and young girls to participate and be interested in the soccer league, in soccer. And also we've already identified a lot of young girls who are very good, and there's potential to develop them further. So I think in a nutshell, there are a lot of opportunities for community to community partnership. We are also talking with some local stakeholders, local government stakeholders in terms of the tree planting particularly in the urban areas where it's just building of houses, building of shacks, building of squatter camps. There are opportunities and places for community to community tree planting opportunities. So we're already talking about those regenerative opportunities and others that have been presented on this platform. So it is quite exciting that we are now looking at implementing and also collaborating with Kenya, Uganda, and Malawi. I mean, it's exciting to see that Malawi, they're equally excited about the development of soccer. We just need to talk to them about bringing in more girls into that development of the sport.
Mm-hmm. And what I was just thinking as you were talking there as well, we've already had a conversation, myself and Joan and Stephanie, with my local councillor, Issa Lee, who actually participated in our very first Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting, the one I mentioned during an opening presentation in September 2019. So my councillor was at that tree planting event. And she's aware that we want to plant a Tree of Peace and Reconciliation because we had a Zoom call with her. She's already identified a place in our local community, literally 200 yards from where I live. There's a brand new development where there's a small local park, and she says, let's just plant the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation in that park with the local community, and we'll bring everybody out and have a celebration. So I'm thinking right now we can do this. Just identify one or more local communities, maybe in each one of these countries in Africa. And we'll do, like I said, the drinning or quintinning, whatever you want to talk. Say we'll partner the city of Markham, as our councillor obviously represents the city of Markham and these communities. And then we'll have these ongoing discussions of how to connect with the UN Global Compact, how to connect with these funding sources, so we can get these soccer leagues, just both at the professional level as well as these fun events, because we want people to support it.
Okay, no, excellent, and also the opportunities for young people to get involved in climate solutions that will also help them to gain some income, because one of the biggest challenges we have in Africa and also in South Africa is the high rate of unemployment by young people who actually did go to school, but they have no other opportunities. So the whole eco-climate ways of regenerating and also making revenue is also quite exciting for us and in different communities.
Mm. Yeah, and we do, just for everybody's sort of understanding, there is a conversation as well with a gentleman who's in Montreal, who has been involved, I've known for many, many years as well, originally involved again with the Canadian Biochar Initiative many, many years ago, was interested in some of these local solutions as well, including some of the stoves and gas fires, has had, I guess, done a presentation as well during a recent African event on Monday, and so there are these ongoing conversations around, especially the payment systems for carbon sequestration. It's a new concept. It's not the same as a carbon credit or offset as it has been done in the past. For instance, through the UNFCCC, we're now looking at direct payments for carbon sequestration of materials into different places, including into soil, but also into other types of infrastructure. Some of the more interesting concepts being to actually sequester carbon into sort of solid infrastructure like roads and other things. As infrastructure is built, there can be payments for carbon that's sequestered into these larger infrastructure developments as well. So I guess I could ask who would like to speak next. I'm seeing
Lloyd,
perhaps,
if I may.
Erwan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just would like to mention about the thing that I proposed in the groups about basically the main aspect is the strategy of alleviating poverty and improving community welfare in a very poor area, rural, poor, underserved, underdeveloped. So basically the component including is that empowerment. There will be through education, teleeducation, because I suppose there will be lacking of teacher, telehealth, telemedicine. That means lacking of health provider, teletraining for the farmers or for even expecting mother, for example, through ICT, knowledge distribution. So these are the key program that I'm hoping to be able to apply in Africa and Asia and some Latin America. Basically, besides empowerment, is a comprehensive program. The next one would be appropriate technology with forward-looking advancement. What I mean here is not really necessarily a low tech, but could be a more advanced tech. For example, we can use some internet access technology. For example, controlling the flow of water to the village and some other thing, as well as controlling the growth of the plant. And then the next one would be the economic improvement. So this will be the gist I presented, I think a few weeks back in the group. Basically, a guaranteed income system for poor farmer. So the poor farmer doesn't have to come up with any money, anything come up from their pocket. Everything will be supplied by either investor. I'm talking about family-based farmers, so only one family, for example. So the investment will be very, very small. It could be from NGO or CSR or other funding agency, as well as from investor, a private investor. So this can be profitable, can be also simply for social enterprise system. So no need for profit, for example, simply an NGA program. The next one would be I call human infrastructure. This could be a community infrastructure. There will be facilities and system for the poor, in the clean water, food security, internet access for the poor, sustainability, secondary and tertiary road. What I mean here, sometimes when we look at the village, small village, even building a bridge through a river could be very critical. I saw a lot of students going to a very dangerous bridge crossing the river, just going to school. So this is kind of things we shouldn't be able to keep it the way it is all the time. We have to improve. We have to build a new bridge, for example, maybe a very simple bridge, but safe. And the other one is assistance, will be a social or financial assistance for the marginalized community, people, maybe people that are sick or cannot work, that are old people. So this one group would be something that we can help. So, and the one I would like to emphasize, which I think unique in this program, is all projects will be carried out under good transparency practice. In other words, everything, every funding will be feasible, every spending, every budgeting will be known by the stakeholder. Stakeholder in this case will be likely the funding provider, could be the people in that community themselves, or maybe some observer, maybe from other village who like to maybe copy the process. So this is very important part of the project to prevent corruption, to monitor budget, progress, efficiency, and economic operation. So again, the target is the poor alleviation, poverty alleviation, and improving community welfare. One last comment that I would like to do. One of the, I mentioned as a component of the program is empowerment through ICT for rural, remote, underserved, underdeveloped, and poor communities through education, health, and training. In this case, we're starting small. So we don't really have to comprehensive program, but we can, based on the ICT, where we can conduct in very small approach. So basically the purpose is to empower, whether women empowerment, whether youngster empowerment, youth empowerment, or even the farmers. So this is the empowerment that we can create through ICT to make sure, for example, the school is equivalent or made comparable to the one in the city. We can use this through education, through internet access, for example. If there is no internet access, why don't we use a save and forward system where we save recording it, the teaching material, and then forward the flash drive or something to the student, so they can even see in the video-to-video conference, for example. It can be done too. So in this case, everybody will be able to have potentially either information that will empower them. Let's say the expecting mother, by knowing about what is the best way to do the healthy pregnancy, maybe they will be empowered so that there will be confidence in their process. The same thing with the student, for example, if they know that their material, their lesson is comparable to the city student, maybe they will be encouraged to be even do more in order to do much better. So this kind of empowerment that I'm talking about. So this could be even a communication to the farmers, video to video. So when they grow rice or growing in the agriculture, they know what they're doing is the best available technology, the best practice. So they will be even more confident. So the candidate for this has to be rural, remote, poor, and could be located anywhere in Africa, could be even in the United States, it could be in Canada, maybe for the indigenous communities over there, maybe in the poor area, rural. Let's put our effort in this at the most. And the key aspect here is the access of internet. This will be the key. But maybe we can work out something so that we don't really, while waiting to get access of internet, we can do it, as I say, video to video conference somehow, maybe save and forward technology. Again, to start with, I would suggest Canada, who has, I think, a lot of program in the telemedicine in the rural area. I know they are very strong. So maybe we can just simply unify those into an overall comprehensive, including the health, education, and training as to start with. That's what I'm suggesting. And maybe in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, other places, whether it is developed countries or maybe underdeveloped countries. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, Erwin, again, what you bring is so very valuable. So what I would ask, if you would take the opportunity to create a presentation that you could share with this audience, but I can provide assistance so we can actually record it. And that way, no matter what your time is like, we'll always be able to share that with the audience, but we need you to include your organization. And also, I would like for you to share your success stories about successes that you've had. I like to ask every audience member here to begin to think about employing your mobile device as more than just being a consumer, but also as a producer of content about what you're doing in your life that has an impact on what we're talking about. I can rebroadcast this around the world, but I can't do it unless we have it. So Erwin, I ask you, can we get together so we can create a public presentation about what it is that you are sharing with us today?
Yes, more than happy to do that, Andrew. So we'll do that. And also I have some case study dealing with the GIS, the guaranteed income system that I did. I'm doing it in Indonesia right now using the porang. We call it the one that grow underground. It's actually glucomannan. It's usually the staple food in some of these Asian countries like Japan or China. If you go to Japanese restaurant, you see this noodle, the white color noodle. They call it, well, basically it is glucomannan. So it's good even for diabetes people. So, I already did this for the past 1 year and almost 2 years. The harvest is every 2 years, but the situation is, so I might be able to present that case study, for example, and maybe the one I mentioned with the telehealth, telemedicine. I really have a chance because I really haven't had a chance to prove it. So this is something that I'm hoping to do, to be able to do in some of the African countries, for example. Let's do it, and maybe we require some kind of permit from the government because it's dealing with the healthcare provider. So, but as far as education, maybe we can easily implement it to the student, whether it's pre-kindergarten, K through 9, K through 9 to 12. Maybe we can improve their system, the quality of education for these young people, so that they are ready for the millennium situation. So I'm very enthusiastic at starting this program, and hopefully there's something that we can do right away, implementing in 2-3 villages, poor village, and just run it through, serve it as a model program, whether it's in Canada or Africa, maybe 3 or 4 village we focus, we do it and make it as a model. Thank you.
Well, yes, thank you. Please set aside some time as soon as possible this week, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour to begin with, and then let's plan out how we move forward. And I'll set you up with our Joseph Akinola, and we'll begin the recording of the presentation. I think, Erwin, it's important we begin right now. So just let me know as soon as you'll be available. Thank you.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm seeing it's now 10 after 1, so we can again on the line or more than 2 hours. I'm just hoping, or I'm asking if there's any other comments for today. People that would like to introduce themselves or discuss some topic or issue for this week's discussion based around this upcoming event.
Sorry, I did put my information in the chat posting.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. But I think moving forward, we're going to have hopefully a successful event on March 4th, where we can have really strong relationship with SDSN Canada as a result of our participation in that event. And
Lloyd, let me ask you, because we have a global audience, what time of day and what agenda do you have in mind for March 4th?
Well, I don't have the specific agenda set out yet. I think what we're going to need to do, I will send a response to this gentleman that did say that we could have a side event. I'm gonna have to tell him what are probably those 3 things we'd like to do during that event. that side event with the rebroadcast and the tea diplomacy, I think being the number 1 and 2. The last one is simply just that announcement. Hopefully that we can get some kind of partnership.
I'll check with Mariam Khan to see what hours of the day the event will be for her on March 4th through the 8th. So at least we'll have that stable data to work from.
So we'll need to have a conversation with them to find out when we can have, like, what are the hours that they're offering, like when is their event, and when can we do our side of it, because I don't have those details either. So it will require a conversation with the people at the University of Waterloo, which is hosting.
Logistics are the most important thing right now. So that nailing that down as soon as possible is going to be very important.
So one of my tasks for today, like, or at least by the end of this weekend, will be to get a response back to this gentleman, John Beale, at the University of Waterloo, who is the gentleman that I talked to or wrote to, and got connected and sort of got to go ahead that we can do a side event. So that is one important email that I will get off to him. That is one of my to-do items from this call. I already had it in mind that I would be responding to him shortly. I just wanted to get a clarification on what it is that we are actually going to do, and if anybody else actually has any other ideas or contributions. For instance, Erwan, do you think you might be ready to do something where you can do also a presentation about your work during this SDSN Canada side event? We've been given an opportunity, and it's kind of a blank slate right now. They don't know what we're going to do. So we can propose to them whatever, as long as you think it's possible. We can propose different things. I just gave the proposal of those 3 things since the Global Women's Development Network is already doing an event on the same day. Why not rebroadcast their event during this? So talking about the bubble soccer, so why not make an announcement at that time if we can, and why not do a tea diplomacy event? But other ideas, and maybe we'll do more than just those 3 things. So I'm open again. Everybody can contact me directly by WhatsApp or by email, just to say, here, we'd like to contribute to this side event, so that the SDSN knows who we are. So if nothing else, perhaps we can wrap up. But perhaps people could just think about it in terms of their own possible contributions to this, because we are a global network, as Andrew said, and so this is an opportunity for anybody, so we can get our foot, our programs known by a very well-known network, the Sustainable Global Solutions Network. It's been around for a long time, has been doing work around the world. And if nothing else at this point, perhaps we can just end it.
Well, as we close, I'm going to share on the screen too that on February 12th, the Indigenous or International and Indigenous Women's Day Conference 22 will have a planning meetup. That's February 12th. And Andrew Networks and AHIABGA-TV are the media sponsors. So we're inviting everyone that has an interest to communicate and contact with us. And we'll be happy to make the connection with whatever you're doing locally with what we're doing globally.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And I will mark that as well into my calendar if it's not already there. I believe I do have another couple events, but I will put this on as a priority event. Do you know the time of day it is?
Yes, I'm actually setting that up. I think it's going to be 10 o'clock your time, but I'll have the Zoom information in about 30 minutes. I'm setting it up. I'll let you know.
Right. So thank you very much, Andrew. So at this time, if there are no other contributions that anybody would like to make or introductions, I guess we can probably wrap up today's IGU Summit. Thank you all for participating one more time today in this IGU Summit. I'm hoping that with each one of these discussions and events that we are more and more clear on what it is that we are trying to achieve and and how we're trying to do it as well. And we will eventually come together and make this happen, especially during this next 8 years until 2030. I think this is a critical time for us to really make a big difference in the world. And I'm fairly confident we can do it. We have a lot of very good, skilled, passionate people in our network. And it is this talent that's on the call today, I think that is at the base of much of what we're trying to achieve. I suppose that can end our call. What do you think, Andrew?
Okay, well, thanks everyone for attending. We're going to end the meeting now. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.